For couples struggling to have a baby, it can be both emotionally and financially draining, but there's a new adoption option when it comes to couples that probably haven't heard of this before. It's called embryo adoption.
It's a new concept in which a couple adopts a frozen embryo from another couple. An embryo is an egg fertilized with sperm. It contains half the DNA from a unique mother and half from a unique father. Depending what you believe, some people refer to embryos as preborn children. A look at how it works in a special CBS 19 Children Are a Gift. In labs all over the United States, there are about 500,000 frozen embryos. These fertilized eggs are left over from fertility treatments, specifically in vitro fertilization, commonly called IVF. They can be held in a state of cryopreservation for decades, and couples pay hundreds of dollars a year to keep them stored.
The only chance these babies had at life was for someone to carry them, and I hoped and had the desire that I could be one of those adoptive moms.
Karis and Duffy Johnson already had one daughter adopted traditionally as a baby. But when they decided to grow their family again, they were intrigued by the idea of embryo adoption, although Duffy admits he was hesitant at first.
It sounded a little sci-fi to me, you know, that you take a kid and it's frozen.
But once they looked into it, they realized it was a viable option to possibly add another child to their family.
I have pictures of my daughter from the very first day that she was 5 cells old.
9 months after the embryos were transferred, Karis gave birth to a beautiful little girl they named Zoe.
She's truly a miracle.
To be able, as a family of faith, pray for a child and be expectant and hopeful is a unique dynamic that I'm glad we got to share as a family.
The Johnsons wondered why more resources weren't available about adopting embryos. They mentioned the idea to their friend Katie Klein, formerly from East Texas. She recently began a business helping couples adopt frozen embryos.
I feel that people are just blown away that this happens.
The service is called the National Registry for Adoption, or NRFA.
Here we're offering an opportunity for those embryos to have a chance at life with another couple, and a couple that you can pick and select. We've had a lot of positive response.
The online company posts profiles of donors and potential adoptive families with the hopes of making a match.
We allow people to privately meet with one another. And instead of going through an agency that might cost $20,000, $40,000, you can pay a small monthly fee to have access to other users' profiles and message them.
The monthly fees range from $25 to $65 a month, and frozen embryos can be shipped to anywhere in the world, so there's no limit who can adopt through NRFA.
Did you want this one?
The Johnsons discovered embryo adoption was a much more budget-friendly option.
Our adoption with Zoe only cost about $3,500, and that included everything.
And they found it was a much faster option with less stress.
In our journey of adopting our oldest daughter, Jula, we went through 3 failed adoptions. So 3 birth mothers who had the baby and changed their minds and decided to parent. With embryo adoption, we never had that worry.
That's because the law sees embryos as a product. They cannot legally be purchased, but rather only given away. Once you are given one, a legal document is written up indicating it's yours forever. A fertility doctor would transfer the embryos to the new mother, and when the child is born, it's yours. No adoption process needed.
You get to decide what the legal contract says. Do you want to have contact with the couple after a child is born? Do you just want to hear if there was a birth or not, or do you want to be completely anonymous? That's up to each couple. We met our donors a few weeks after our daughter was born.
The commonality I think we share with them with profession, faith, hobbies, it just sounded like we were listening to a story about ourselves.
Oh, here you go.
For couples who feel their family is complete, the decision of what to do with frozen embryos can be difficult.
They've seen those embryos turn into life. They've seen those embryos turn into their children. And so just discarding them or leaving them frozen where you have to pay a yearly fee is an emotional situation that couples maybe didn't realize they might get into when they did IVF.
Katie and her husband know that firsthand, having gone through in vitro fertilization. They were blessed with twins, but have 2 frozen embryos left over. They say they will definitely donate them to a couple who needs them and will love them.
If you believe that life begins at conception, that this is just a weight off your chest about what to do with leftover embryos. God is in control of life. If those people are meant to have your children, it'll work.
And the Johnsons couldn't agree more.
Do you want to fly?
The question comes, can you love a child that doesn't look like you or act like you? And absolutely yes. I love my two girls more than I love my life itself. It's just a unique bond to have a beautiful child, and the experience that we had through embryo adoption.
But at the end of the day, there's only one life-honoring choice for these embryos, and that's embryo adoption.
She is adorable. Now, Katie tells me embryos are never too old to be donated. In fact, an embryo was frozen for 20 years and resulted in a healthy baby boy. As for the Johnsons, they tell me they are looking to adopt more frozen embryos and expand their family again. If you're interested in learning more about frozen embryo adoption, head to CBS19.tv, click on the Children Are Gift page. We've provided a link in that story to give you more information.